Good.
Are you settled?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Anyways, I got a minute more once I just run through the organizational stuff, and then I'll just hand it over to you. So yeah, first of all, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. As always, I'll just give you a couple of infos regarding the group, and share with you the links to our YouTube channel, the Meetup, the LinkedIn, and our Twitter. Post the links in the chat as well, so you can access that. Feel free to subscribe and join us, so you don't miss out on the sessions, and you also can rewatch the sessions as they are recorded. So if you have missed any sessions so far, no worries, you can always rewatch them. What are we doing? What is this group for those who are new to this group and who haven't joined yet? Augustine and me, we're trying to bring brilliant speakers every week together, and interested learners. So this is what we're trying to do on a weekly basis, talking about everything Power BI basically. And as you can see, we put the LinkedIn handle, so you can reach out to Augustine or me if there's anything you want to talk about, or any session that you would like to hear, and we'll try to accommodate for that. As for the upcoming sessions, Augustine has another format, Data Jazz, where he's talking with Nicola in a little bit of a different setting, and they have a conversational type of session where Alberto Ferrari is the next guest. So really exciting. You don't want to miss that on September 11th. And you can see as well Twitter handle and LinkedIn. So just reach out if you haven't watched the Data Jazz or haven't connected yet to the Data Jazz. You should definitely do so. Really interesting stuff. As for this group's upcoming sessions, after this, today is the last session before our summer break, and we're going to start on September 7th again with the session from Eric that we had to postpone. If any of you try to connect to that session, you get a chance to hear him speak on September 7th. And 1 week later, David is gonna. I see there's a typo. I'll check what the session topic's going to be and update it on a meetup. Let you know what David's going to talk about. And with that, I'll just hand it over to Bernat. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for presenting, and the screen is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. So let me share my screen, which is this one. Yes. Okay. I hope everyone can see it.
Yep.
So if any of you have followed me a little bit on the social networks, I basically talk about calculation groups, and I do have a sort of a presentation that keeps like evolving little by little. Today I'm planning a sort of a small change, also because we were talking with Augustine that it would be good to bring some more use cases and not so much theory, because I realized that if I only talk about what calculation groups are and how they work, I can talk for a full hour, but then you would miss much of the fun, right? So since this is the title of the presentation, I figured out that, well, I mean, if you don't know about calculation groups, maybe when you see what you can do with one, then you'll be interested in the theory that I might explain later on. I plan to keep some time to be able to revisit those use cases and then go into the details on how can you build something like this. Yes, so let's get it done here. The first one, yeah, here I added like some indicators, if it's difficult to do this and if it's likely that you'll do this. Yeah, this is very easy and very likely you'll use. Yeah, so first of all, calculation groups allow us to do different calculations based on the same measures. Yeah, so here, I mean, this is exactly what I have here. Yeah, so I have a few measures here on the right-hand side. And here I'm having just the base value, but I could have more value. So here I could have, for example, the value for the previous year, or the year-over-year and the year-over-year percentage. Normally, this would be a new measure for each of them. And not only that, you could not show it like this in a metrics way. So it allows you, first, you reduce the number of measures, and two, it allows you to build very compact visuals where you can show lots of information. Yeah, so this is very simple, but still a very powerful use case. Yeah, there's not much to explain. I mean, it's just you use the calculation group here on the top. Now, the next one is still pretty straightforward. There is, well, when you have a model, sometimes we have this like role-playing dimension in which sometimes, yeah, here we have the date connected to the sales table through the order date. Yeah, so everything is related to this connection. So the sales amount and the total cost and so on uses this relationship. But wait, is this working? Oh. Yeah, order date. Okay, yeah, correctly. Say no, but now I want to see the values by delivery date because it's relevant for some other business area or something like this. So normally you would have to do different measures for all of that, but with the calculation group, it's like your model change. So there's no need to change your measures. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You can apply it to all your measures, and then all your measures will respond to the inactive relationship. This is very handy, very easy. Maybe not that likely to use, but well, if you have role-playing dimensions, certainly you'll use that. Now, if you go a bit farther up, there is something else which is not so common, but if you're in that situation, very useful, which is the key account manager problem. Yeah, if you are familiar with this concept, it's normally the person that takes care of certain product for certain client. Yeah, here I imagine this table. Maybe I forgot. Yes, is everything okay? Okay, so let me launch this thing so I can zoom a little bit. Yeah, so here we have key account manager 1 manages Contoso in Europe. Yeah, so to say, and so on. And everything is fine until they say, but I want to filter by key account 1. Yeah, so it's like, whoa. But you see, the model doesn't allow this, right? Because I cannot set this relationship straight, because then it would be bad. I mean, because the Vertipack wouldn't know if I had to filter through this way or this way, and then it gets in definition. I don't know. It doesn't even let you set up such a relationship. But what if we take the value from manufacturer and we pretend that it comes from this product table, and we take the value from store and we take it as if it comes from the store? Well, we can do stuff like this with calculation groups. Now you see this relationship is still not there, but it's working. Yeah, so it's in DAX only, but it's very convenient because it works on everything. I don't have to redo my measures or anything. So this is a little bit more difficult. Probably a little likelier that you'll use it, but if you have this model, then you'll love that you can do this. Okay, so let's continue a little further. This is, I don't know, yeah, likelihood probably about the same. This is difficult if you have to modify it, but still, I mean, if it works like you have it here, it's just a copy paste thing, yeah? So this is to show very large values and very small values. But having, so here, for example, I can see a small value and also a very large value without a 0 dot or something like this, because in Power BI, normally you get all the values with the same unit. It's either thousands or millions or nothing or whatever. Here you can put a different format string for each cell, and it's dynamic. So depending on the value that you're applying to show, it will apply the correct unit. I didn't think of it. This guy did. So here's the credit. Very good. Now, this one, I use that in production, so you might as well. This is when you need some color gradient that goes also in the totals. Yeah, and you want this to be dynamic. If you try to do that with a native visual, what happens is that once you say you want it in the totals as well, they say, oh, then who's the max and who's the minimum? You have to hard code the value there. And it's terrible because I don't know, it could be anything. So with some calculation groups, you can, well, determine who's the maximum value, what's the minimum value, and what should be the color used there. And then you can point out like, okay, this is a bad value because, I don't know, the year over year is very low. And this is good one because it is higher, yeah? But and you see I have everything for the totals and also for the values. Yeah, this is the difficulty. It was pretty difficult, at least for me, because I had to set it up. If you want to adapt it, it's not that much, of course. You just need to adapt the code to your needs, which is basically you only need to change how the maximum is found and on the minimum and so on. But the hard code, which is the specification on how to get to the color, this is standard. It's like, okay, if the maximum is this, the minimum is that, the 0 is this one, and these are the colors you want to use for the maximum, the minimum. It's all set. And well, I think it's quite likely. I mean, if you're showing any chart that is any table, I think normally you would need to add like some context. Is this a good value or is it a bad value? And I think this is a very powerful way to show it. You probably need to put some signs as well to make it more accessible, but colors are also a good way to enrich your visuals. Yeah. So now, this one, this is pretty easy. Maybe not that likely. This is when you filter matrix by a measure, sometimes, and just sometimes, depending on the type of and the shape of the data that you're showing, you might get strange results. Yeah, let me show you why. So here, for example, I have like different continents, and you see that for some continents, I don't have sales amount. Yeah, I tweak the data so it happens like this. But then I have other measures. I don't know why that they don't depend on the actual fact table. So I have a forecast, or I have, I don't know, a first sale, and that they do have values. Okay, but I don't want to see these lines. So what do? I say, okay. I say let me show you. So I have here with sales. With sales, you see, this is a measure. Yeah, they say, so if it's empty, then no sales. If it says yes, I have sales in my sales data. Yeah, so here I'll go and say with say, well, here I can just go is yes. If I apply this, check out the table. You see, many of my forecast value disappears. Doesn't make any sense, does it? I think it has to do with how DAX optimizes stuff, and sometimes it messes up. SQL BI has a couple of videos on that, but the solution they give is very complex. It's about checking the DAX code that comes out and trying to figure out how to not mess with that. In this case, I found an alternative way of doing it, which is just making sure that when this is blank, all other measures are blank. Yeah. So here, if I enable this, then I have all my values. Oh, it is nice. Okay. And 15 minutes. Okay, I'll just go through a little more. This one is also, well, if somebody is basically trying to port an Excel table here, maybe you'll use it, in which you have, you see, this is not symmetric. Yeah? So here for sales amount, I have few calculations, but for margin, I have different calculations, and for quantity, I have other calculations. This type of table is very hard to build in Power BI. And actually, I think it's only possible with calculation groups. There's also something we can dive in. Or, I mean, you cannot do that with native visuals, yeah? If you have some budget to spare and you can get yourself an info river, then you're fine. Yeah, now this one, I thought it was just an academic use case when I wrote the blog post, but very recently I've used that in production. So you never know. Here I have an arbitrary table, say I want my measures to be shown this way. And with some magic and calculation groups, I managed to show really these measures in this way. Yeah, so this is not really easy. But you can do, and they work. Yeah. So I mean, if I filter or something, I mean, they still change. Yeah. So I'm not fooling you all. Yeah. And just a very little thing at the end. I've never used that in production, but it's very beautiful. You see here, you can play with the colors. So I say I want this color to be more transparent, and I want it to be darker. You also can do that with calculation groups. And I guess that when we come back, you'll have to choose which one do you want to see deeper how it goes. But well, this is when you start playing with hexadecimal codes, you can do almost anything. And then this is also was neat at the moment. Here, this is what happens with metrics, right? When you have the auto width, it's like, oh, okay, I have a white column here and an arrow color here. And I don't know, but I would like all the columns to be the same width. Yeah. So look at this here. If I only have one column, if I turn this in auto mode, this is normal. Okay, just the space necessary. But once I show both products, look what happens. This column is now wider to match the first column. This is also with a calculation group, which is messing with the number format, yeah, with the format string of the values. So it manages to put some extra spaces in front. But this is not really production for production, basically because it doesn't work when you have long headers, which is most of the time. Yeah, and now for the ones that maybe you've seen my post on LinkedIn lately, I'm just showing you some chart. Here I broke the indicators in 3, yeah, because there is one part which is the base charts, and then is the pop-up effect. Yeah. So here, this first chart, you see this is not the regular chart. Yeah. See here, sorry, we have the year-on-year growth of sales abound, but the categories don't come from the same dimension. Yeah. So here we have for Contoso, we were down 4.3, but Contoso Europe, it's down 18.8. But gray products on Contoso Europe were down 23.7 and red products 17.1. Yeah, this is a chart that might be useful for if you're in charge of the gray and red products for Contoso in Europe. Yeah, you're the sales manager for these products. Then you want to say, okay, how am I doing? How am I doing compared to the rest of the continent? How am I doing compared with Contoso overall? Yeah, but then you also want to know, so how are the other colors doing, and how are the other continents doing, and how are the other manufacturers doing? Yeah, and for that we have other charts. But the cool thing is here that when I click this one, suddenly a new chart appears, and it's showing me exactly this 0.3%. Actually, it goes align this. So we see that ventures were going higher and Fabricam as well. So okay, whatever. And then when we click at this one, now this appears we have another one. I see that Asia, Contoso, which sells in Asia and Europe, actually in Asia did good and Europe did bad. Okay. And now for the colors, just for Europe, remember, so we see that, well, there are some colors that did better than we did and others did worse. Okay, and we can see both colors where they go. Yeah. This is, so we see two things here. So first are this base chart that when you select, it only shows that, but the other is the effect of appearing and disappearing. We see that this is not super difficult. But also, once you have this built in, is basically you just pick these 3 charts and you put them in a tooltip, and then you get this. Yeah, because in a tooltip, you're passing the selected value as filter. And we see that when we select one value, we see one chart. When we select another value, we see another chart. So if you put them on top of each other with no background and no title and other extra things, then you can have this effect of, of having a truly dynamic title. Yeah. Okay, but now you see, you can do this with a calculation group, but now maybe you have the question, okay, how? Let me do that. So I'll see if I can work with both open at the same time. So we can go back here. We'll do just the basics, and then we'll see if we can go deeper in some of these use cases. Yeah. Normally I do either introduction or use cases. So let's see how this works. So I hope that at least part of you have tried to work with calculation groups. I'll really love to hear your experiences. Okay, let me go to the beginning. Now, let me set up view. Where is it? Bookmarks, view. Okay. Very good. So what's the original? Yeah, when somebody said we need a calculation group, probably wasn't thinking of all these use cases I just talked about, but more likely was like, come on, I'm doing all this measures all the time for previous year. It's like you change the base measure, you put the same DAX around it. And somebody said, okay, this is not efficient. We need something better. And somebody said, okay, what can we do? We could store that somewhere else. Yeah, so, and they did. And then, but the implementation allows you to do many more things, as we just saw. Yeah. Because somebody said, yeah, but if it's a year-over-year percent, I need to change also the format string. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's true. Yeah, so they built a way to modify both the value and the format string of a measure with something that is not a measure. Yeah, something that acts on the measure. So it is like a filter. Yes. So what are exactly calculation groups? This is the shortest definition I come up with. Yeah. So they are sets of DAX expressions that replace the value and format string of the measures present in their scope. Yeah. So each pair of DAX expressions, one for value, one for format, it's called a calculation item. Yes. So, and to see that I'm not lying, here we have a dummy measure. Yeah, a dummy measure is convenient when you are working with calculation groups that have a dynamic base measure. Yeah, because basically it will be replaced completely with something else. And there are other calculation groups that modify measures, but in some instances we want just to replace. And this is very easy to see how a calculation group works. So this is blank. Yeah, this is the measure I have here. Now here, these are the values for a calculation group. Yeah, so these are, each of them are calculation items. So when I select margin, and suddenly here I see the margin. And I select and you see I have euros now, but when I select margin percent, I have a percent. So I'm modifying both the value and the format string. Yeah, and I could have as many more as I wanted. Now, where are these expressions? They are not here. Yeah, because if we try to see where is this coming from, we will find a dynamic measure. Is this it? Yeah, this is all we see from Power BI desktop. Yeah, so it's nothing. We just see the names and an ordinal column. It's not useful. So now it's when some people are like, oh, and then what? Well, we need tabular editor. You could do it with PowerShell or Visual Studio if you really wanted to, but just don't. Stick with a tabular editor 2, which is free, or 3 if you have it, much better. Yeah, and in tabular editor 3, you can do it just through the interface or even use DAX scripts. Yeah, maybe not for building, but for documenting, calculation groups are very good because then you'll have all the information regarding a calculation group in one place. Otherwise, it's like you have to do many screenshots. Anyway, so let's see how put that one. Yeah. So first we need to install Tabular Editor and install it. If you don't have permissions, you can also run the portable version. Probably it's not compliant, so didn't say that. Anyway, then for tables, yeah, you see we have connected to our model. We have all the tables here, and then we'll just build a new one. Yeah, create new calculation group, and we'll call that dynamic measure 2. Yeah. Now we have that's the name of the say calculation group table, and then this is, and then we have a column which is by default called name. Please rename that. I normally use the same name as the calculation group. Measure 2. So if I drag that to the filter pane, I know exactly where it is. Otherwise, it's just plenty of names you don't know. Now here you see we have like a small folder. Yeah. This is all the calculation items goes, which will be each of the rows of the table. So we say new calculation item, and we'll try to do this dynamic measure thing. So we'll call this sales amount. Good. And now we need to define what's the expression, yeah, for this. So the value expression is the one by default. Here's called expression, and in our case would be just like sales amount, yeah. That's off, right? And now we can new calculation item, and we'll do the margin percent. So to show you something, percent, we can also say, okay, this should be margin percent. Sorry, I'm still recovering from COVID, actually. Anyway, so this is all exists now in Tabular Editor. That's why we have the question marks. So now it's time to save the changes back to the model. And then we get the yellow ribbon. And we should have, okay, and there it is. Yeah, this is our calculation group. So here I built already a slicer ready for us to bring this in. And now before I apply the calculation item, I want you to look here. We have a dynamic title set. Yeah, just to show you what happens. So this is already a measure with the title. And now for the chart, we already have the dummy measure as well. Oh, so we have two measures. Now, if I apply the say the sales amount, oh, we see that the title converted to something. And here, if I turn on the data labels, where they are here. Data labels, we have like some millions, okay, which is not bad. But if I turn this one, whoops, we see plenty of ones, which is not good. Yeah, we would like to see percentage. So we have two problems. So for one, let's solve first the format thing one. Yeah, why don't we see percentages here? Well, you probably remember we said that calculation items are pairs of expressions. One is for the value, which apparently is fine. The other one is for the format string. We didn't set up the format string one, did we? So here under the property, we have the format string expression, which is again a full DAX expression that at the end it becomes a string. And that's the string that will be used as the format string of that measure, which is crazy because then it's dynamic. You can do anything. So and that allows you to do all crazy stuff. So here we'll just go easy. Remember, this must be a string, so we need to put that in double quotes. Sorry. And then for sales amount, it's okay. We'll just I don't know. One, something like this. And we can save. I can see what happens. Oh wait, we might want some decimals here, yeah. Very good. So we save back. And we see that at least we have already our decimals. And the sales amount is looking good, but we still have the problem with the title. Yeah. So this is because it's replacing this measure, but I don't want my measures to be replaced. How can we solve this? Well, the thing is that we have some special DAX functions that we can use inside the calculation groups that allows you to orchestrate a little bit what happens. Yeah. So right before we replace a measure, we can say, okay, but what's the name of that measure? Yeah. And or is this the measure that I'm about to replace? And then we can build some logic around that. Yeah. And then I say, okay, but if it's not the measure that I want to replace, I want to leave it as it was. I don't want to change anything. How can I say that? Well, that's why we have this selected measure function. This selected measure is the measure that you're about to replace. And you can use that in your expression. So if it's not that expression, then just leave it. Then just use selected measure. And the same for the format string. So let me show you. Here, okay, I don't have it. Okay, so here we have the same chart. Yeah. Now we go back here. And what I meant is that we want to replace only the dummy measure. Yeah. The best is only to focus on what you want to replace, and anything else should stay as it was. That's the best way to, because if you start determining what should be left out, this might be tricky. Yeah, down the road. So here, I want to be margin percent only if I'm about to replace the dummy measure. So if, very small, right? So I could go with is selected measure, for example, no? Is selected measure dummy measure. Is this the case? And this will return true. And this is the expression I want. If whatever was there, I don't know what was there, but whatever it was, then it's selected measure. Yeah. It's not this one, then whatever measure was there will still be there when I finish replacing. Sorry. Then, actually, if we wanted to go in a pure way, yeah, because here it is a title, it doesn't really matter. But if it was another number measure that I don't want to replace, the format string either, yeah, because right now this is saying any measure in your scope, you put in this format string. You can break a lot of things with this as well. So you should do something very similar. Yes, so let me copy this part. Only the first half is the same, yeah. So I say, if this is a selected measure, then this is the format string. Otherwise, selected measure format string. Yes, this is the name of the function that will return the format string of the measure you're about to replace. So it will stay as it was before. Yeah, so we can save this now back. Let's see what happens. Oop. What did I do? Here. I did it only for the margin, yeah. So now you see that the values for 2008 remains there, and the format is correct. If I did the same for sales amount, this would be still remain. Okay. So these are the basics, really. Yeah. Well, we still haven't used the selected measure. Yeah, this is not just for string slicer. This is much more. Let's see. How can we do this? Time intelligence. I think this was the use case that they wanted to solve when they developed calculation groups. Yes, as I showed in the beginning. So here I have many measures. Yeah, we go to, this is what normally would happen if you start doing time intelligence. And let me tell you that first you should learn how to do measures before you do calculation groups. Yeah. So if you know how to do that for one, so here, you know that to do the previous year, you can do it this way. Yeah. So, okay, but I don't want so many measures. I want to do it in a calculation group. Fine. So now we can go into time intelligence and we can build another calculation group. Sorry. Time intelligence 2. Now we also put the name. Time intelligence 2. And now we'll just go to very easy ones. Yeah. New calculation item. So for current year, we don't normally do any transformation, right? We just leave whatever from the filters, the date filters will be filtering, and that's the actual value that we just want. So we'll just select the measure. Yeah, this is. So if I have sales amount in the scope and the filter is like current year, I don't need to transform that measure at all. Okay. Now, if I go for previous year, now I need to do some DAX. Yeah, but if I know how to do that for a measure, what is it? No, sales. Yeah, so if I get, for example, here, the easiest way is you do it for one, then you copy the expression, then you bring it down here. Yeah, and then you make it shoreline. Right. Okay. And then this will return always for margin, but that's not what I want. I want this for any measure that is in the scope. Yeah, so if it's sales amount, if it's margin, margin, and so on. So selected measure. Yeah. Use the measure that is in the scope inside this DAX expression. And then it will do like the previous year for any measure that is there. Yeah, which is great. Now I'm only focusing on this part of the DAX transformation, but actually you should do both. You know? So first check what's the measure you're about to replace, and then do the expression you want. Yeah, so I'm not doing it all because then it would be very lengthy, but both things are important. Yeah, to check what you're about to replace and what are you replacing it with. So these would be my calculation items. I could continue and do all the other ones. We're not doing the formatting for now, but also this should be part of your development, and especially when you get to the year-over-year percent, then you should, of course, modify the format string so that it will show up as a percentage. Yes, so well, let's save this back. This is only to show you that the very basics on how this works. Now, so time intelligence 2, this is the column, and we can add it as a column here. And you see that for 2008 and the previous year, I'm getting the value that indeed was there for 2007. So it is working. Yeah. You see that this DAX expression is not perfect because it's producing previous year value in the future. It doesn't make any sense, does it? But no problem. I'll show you at the end. There's a script that will automate all of this, and it will even take care of this small caveat. Now, so just as a recap, calculation groups, you can be used as in a visual, as we just saw. You put it in the columns or the matrix or something like this. But also you can use them from the filter panel. So here I just use the sales amount, but on the filter panel, I applied the previous year calculation item, so I'm getting the previous year value. So also good to know. Also, if you have many calculation items, you can limit them through the filter pane. Yeah. And another one that I didn't imagine in the beginning is that you can use them inside DAX expressions, yeah, which is very cool. So let me show you that, how you do that. Sales, previous year, here. Yeah, so just as any other filter. So you apply that on a measure, and this is the column of your calculation group, and this is the name of the calculation item. Yeah, and this will return indeed the previous year value, as you can see. And there is an important, well, I think interesting fact connected with this way of using calculation groups, and is that when you do something inside a measure, then it's not part of the filter context. Yeah, which is not true for the first two ways, because here now the calculation item is in my filter context and here as well. But here, since it happens inside the measure, it's not. Yeah. So this is relevant when you set up drill through pages or tooltips. Yeah. So let me show you real quick what I mean with this. So here, what I did is I'm using the sales amount as the value. And in the legend, I'm using the time intelligence calculation group. And through the filter pane, I limited that to just current year and previous year, which you think, OK, I don't see any problem with that. But then your boss says, oh, but I want to, sorry, spoiler. I want to see also the year over year and the year over year percent in the tooltip. Can you do that? Like, sure. So you go first, and then you say, OK, this is my tooltip. So perfect. And I'm connecting it. And then, whoops, not cool. Where are my calculation items? Oh, they're getting filtered out because my calculation item is part of the filter context. Yeah, not cool. Yeah, because I want all for that. Also, here, if I have, I don't know, the sales amount in a cart and I don't know, somebody selects previous year, this will also affect and return me the sales amount for the previous year. So just things that you need to be aware of. However, if I now build pretty much the same chart, but instead of using the time intelligence on the legend, I'm using two measures. One is sales amount, and the other one is the sales amount using the calculation group I showed you just a second ago. And I connect that with the same tooltip. Well, look at this. I can go and it will show me even the same values for both bars because the filter context of both bars is exactly the same. They're just different measures, but the filter context is the same, which is great for this use case. Sometimes you might want the other way. So just something that you need to think about. OK. And just before, normally I would go on and on for much longer, but just very basic rules. Yeah, just one calculation item from the same calculation group. Yeah, if you put two, it's like, what are you trying to do? This is not going to work. For the next one, implicit measures, no good. They are not good already, but once you have a calculation group, you cannot create new ones. And the ones that you might have already in your report will not respond to calculation groups. So get rid of your implicit measures. And also very important, calculation groups only work on measures. I would say always apply them to a measure, not even an expression. So if you want something to be filtered by a calculation group, make a measure first with that. And then use that inside of another expression. Oh, yeah. OK, so see, for example, just to show you a wrong way to do things. So this will not work. Yeah, here I don't have any measure. I have an expression. Yeah, so this is doing nothing. This will just return for current year value. This is like this calculate didn't do anything. And that's it. But actually, it's not. Of course, it's not. Yeah. So here, yeah, today I'm not going to go into that, but there's for creating the time intelligence calculation group and the and the dynamic measure, there is a scripts that can help you out. So here, this is my block. And if you go down enough, you eventually find it this, wait, or you use the search bar. If you search for tool belt. Where is it? Yeah, one-click calculations for your tool belt. So this is just some scripts that you just run into the tabular editor. There is even videos here that will show you how to do that and how to store them so that you can use and reuse them as much as you want with Tableau Editor 2, Tableau Editor 3. And then they are like really the building blocks for many other use cases. So today we don't have time to dive much into that, but really this blog post should be helpful enough. So now that we are here, we can go back and check a little bit out what is going on. I don't know if there are special requests and if you want me to talk more about one thing or the other. For this one, I don't think there's anything to be said. This is just the calculation group. And then, yeah, this might be interesting to have a look. This is, let me check. This is the calculation group called model. Yeah, that has 2 calculation items. So let's check it out. I'll use this same one. I'm going to connect to the different groups gallery. Exactly. Okay. Tables, the model one. There it is. You see, this is the default relationship. Yeah? In the default relationship, you don't have to do anything. So you just return selected measure. Yeah. And when you want to use the other one, it's just the use relationship with the selected measure. Yeah, so any measure will have this calculate use relationship around them. So every measure will respond to the alternative model in which an active relationship has become active. It's very easy, isn't it? So, and you can have that in a separate calculation group, so you can apply it any way you see fit. Just in a visual or in a page or something like this, or even leave it for the user to select what is supposed to be happening. Also, I haven't played with that, but sometimes it's like, oh, I need to activate a bidirectional relationship, but I know it's a bad thing, but I really need it for this visual, something like that. Well, then don't put it on the model. And then you might want to do that with a calculation group. Yeah, so you use the cross filter one with both as a parameter, but only activate it there. Yeah, and maybe you can deactivate other relationships so that no bad things happen. And it's a way of controlling these sort of things. Okay. Very good. Let's go back here. Now, what else? Yeah, maybe you're curious about how this one works. Let me check it. This is the calculation group. It's called CAM relationships. Where is it? In the CAM relationships, we have the disable one, which is nothing. This is just the model as usual. But the enable is not that difficult either. So what we're using is first, you need to get the values from the CAM table. Yeah. And you do a treat as of these values and say, no, now these values really come from the store continent. Yeah. And then you need to do a keep filters so that it merges with the filters that come from the outside. Now, you know, if you don't use keep filters, it will override the outside filter context, and it doesn't work nice in this place. Yeah. But and then you do exactly the same with the manufacturer. So these are the values from the CAM table. Say no, but now they come from the manufacturer table, and do a keep filters around them. And then whatever measure that you were calculating, use these 2 filters. Which what happens is that any measure then will only have a value if that row is in the CAM table. Yeah? Otherwise, it will blank because that's how it will filter. Okay. I don't know if there's any questions, just let me know. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking. I don't know how I'm doing for the time. Yeah, this one, I don't know. We can have a quick look just so that you know a little bit how this works. All of this is in my blog. Yeah? There's no big Maybe not this one, not sure. This I talked in some events, but not in the vlog because it's really not my idea. But we can have a look. Okay, what's the name of this one? Number format. Okay. So number format is the N here. Here you can have even like 1 decimal positions or 0 and so on. The native format, this is just a regular one. Now here, of course, you see for all of them, of course, we don't want to change the value itself. We would just want to change the format string. But for the native format, if we go to here, we just see the regular format string. But here, if we go to the format, here, this gets a bit more tricky here because I even went to the extra step of making all the calculation items have the same definition, but then I'm using the calculation item name inside the calculation. Yeah. So where is it? Number format. Yeah. So here you see selected calc item is getting the selected value of the column of the calculation group. So, and then selected calc item here starts doing things to get the number of decimals and So, but here the interesting part is here we makes a logarithm with base 1000 to say if it's 1 or 2 or 3, and then depending on that. The save log here, yeah, and then depending on the result, it will apply the suffix and also the number of commas that you need to put in the format string so that it doesn't display all the digits. Yeah, this is terrible. I mean, the person who did it spent a lot of time, and I did spend a lot of time understanding what was going on. So if you want to use it, just copy paste it and roll with it. Yeah, or use InfoRiver or any. Yeah. Fancy custom visual. For the gradient, we can get into some more details here. Let me check. This is not so easy because the thing is all of it is inside the conditional format, right? So first we need to find where it is. Here we go. It sales amount year over year to date. Conditional format. Okay, this is the name. Here. Let me check. Where is it? Yeah, so here what I'm doing is so I'm applying this on a base measure, which is the measure I want to use to determine the color. I'm applying this calculation item, and I'm storing it in a variable, and then I'm converting that to a string. Yeah, because otherwise you cannot select it as a conditional format. Yeah, because it expects a string because it expects a hexadecimal code. So that's why you have to do it in 2 steps, so to say. But let's have a look at this conditional formatting. I apologize. So for conditional formatting, where is it? Here. You see, I have actually like 4 calculation items. The thing is that I'll be using the other ones inside this one. This is the main one, yeah? So remember, I'm applying this to a measure, yeah? Inside the Dax expression. But here, what I'm determining first is what are the codes for the maximum, minimum, and neutral color. And now for the minimum value, I'm using here the min value calculation item, the max value calculation item, and the neutral value calculation item. Yeah. So this will give me the 3 values. And then I start playing with math, basically. Yeah, because then I'm getting the current value, which is just the value of the measure I'm about to replace. So, and then I determine the percentage. If it's above the neutral value, I want to get like, if it's 100%, I'm in the maximum value. If I'm in the minimum value, minus 100. If otherwise, I'm in the, well, and in the minimum value, the neutral value, and I'm at, that should be at 0 for me, right? So, and then from there, I just, well, determine a percent, which is I control that it's not ever over 1 or minus 1. And then the few things start to happen. This is what I'm doing here is converting the hexadecimal codes, yeah, of the 3 colors into red, green, and blue, yeah, in 3 rows. And then I start like calculating what should be the red, green, and blue values for my current value. But of course, to do operations, you need to move them into decimal code. Then you do the operations, then you return to the hexadecimal code, and then you wrap back the number together. I didn't think of all these functions, but Phil Seamark has some good blog post explaining this, yeah, this part of the code. So yeah, you see at the end I have like bad X, neutral X, good X. Those are all the different columns that appear here. But at the end I have my X. This is the code I finally wrap back together with the concatenate X. I put the hash at the beginning, and this is my color. Yep. So I told you this is not really easy, but now this one might be a bit easier. And I actually even have a script that can help you out with that. But no, this one, this is even, no, I don't have a script, but this is very, very easy. Let's check the visibility calculation group. So you can do. You see, this is exactly the same expression as in the measure we had. Yeah. So what I want is, if I have rows in the sales table, show me the measures. Otherwise, blank them out. So the condition is this one. Yeah. If not is empty, selected measure. Otherwise, blank. And this applies to all measures. In this case, it's just how I want it to happen. Yeah. So it will blank all the other measures without using measure value filters. Yeah. So I think it's safer because I've seen a few things happen when you use the measure filter. So, I mean, you can use it if it works. So be happy. But otherwise, know that you can do it this other way. And I found that at least in some cases, it's more secure, so to say. Here, this is the one I thought, the headers one. Yeah, we have the measure. Yeah. There's a measure group measure. Okay, and then we have the time intelligence. This is the regular calculation group. So the logic is in this one. And you'll see that it's pretty straightforward. So measure group. You see, I have the 3 calculation items. But here, first of all, I check as if it was a regular dynamic measure one. I'm checking, is this really the dynamic measure? Otherwise, just leave whatever was there. If it is, and then check what's the calculation item active. Yeah. Remember that you can do this selected value on the calculation group column to see what's the active calculation item for a calculation group. Yeah. So, and this I'm saying, okay, let's check that. If this is true, let's have a look. And then here's it. Okay. So if the selected calculation is current month, year to date, or year over year to date, show me the sales amount. Otherwise, blank. Yeah, so if it is blank, then it will not show. And that's the trick, actually. Because then you see that for margin, it's a bit more complicated because I also wanted to mix euro margin and percentage margin. But that was my choice. I mean, you don't have to do that. And I say, okay, if the calculation is euros year to date, then I should use this base measure. If it's percentage year to date or percentage previous year to date, then use this other measure. Yeah, of course, you have to be careful if you do this, because then the format string also will change. Yeah. Yeah. Also for the other one, you also need to be careful on when you do things. Oh, here I'm not checking, but for the other one, I have to distinguish between one calculation item and the other one. And for quantity, it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. So yeah, once you start playing with a selected value on a calculation item, you can do many things. You've seen we can use it inside the expression, or we can use it to define different logics depending on the calculation item, which is great. And what else I have here? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll just jump straight into the last one because I'm running out of time. And I think maybe some people want to, because this is very sexy, right? You want to do this. How can we hide and show charts? Yeah. Well, actually, this idea came to me when sometimes it happens. You have your chart, and then you drag your new measure there, right? And then suddenly, whoo, the chart disappears. Yeah, it always happens, right? Why? Because your measure is returning blank for everything. And then I thought, hey, I could use this on my benefit sometime, right? So this is what happens. We check, where is it? I'll need the selection pane. Okay. Just about year. No, wait, slice it. Oh. Oh no, because wait, this is the tooltip. Sorry, let's start with because otherwise it's very difficult to see anything. Now here, in this chart, we're using the chart visibility and manufacturer. Yeah, so let's have a look at what is going on. Where is it? Chart visibility or manufacturer. So what is this doing? Yeah, okay. First, let me show you something else. This, where is this one? This is the arbitrary chart. Arbitrary chart is this one, yeah? So here we have all the 4 items. We have this is just applies the Contoso, and this is the Contoso in Europe, and as we said, Contoso Europe gray and Contoso Europe red. Yep. However, I realized that I want one tooltip for this one tooltip for the other, and one tooltip for these other 2. So where I can store this logic. And then I realized that you can actually create calculated column inside a calculation group, which of course it has like no function rather than just informing things. And what I did is maybe we'll see this better here. Arbitrary chart. Yeah. So here you see, can you see? Say if this name is inside. Well, what I'm doing is if this name is inside colors, then it's a color. If it's a manufacturer, then a manufacturer. If it's a continent, then it's a continent. Yeah. And this is the type of tooltip I want. Yeah, so it works. So I'm using this column inside the arbitrary, the visibility. And I'm selecting from there, like what sort of tooltip should I show? And they're saying, yeah, this is the, I don't know, the manufacturer one. And then, okay, what is the tooltip that what is the calculation item here? So I'm also picking it up. I say, okay, if I should show the manufacturer tooltip and I'm the calculation item for the manufacturer tooltip, then show the measure. Otherwise, blank. Yeah, and when you do the blank, then it disappears all of it. And remember also, if you turn off the background, then it's like nothing is there. It's a hack. Yeah, it would be nicer if we had like some sort of dynamic visibility, but we don't. So basically, we would go like this and return the result. And the beauty is that all 3 have the same expression. Yeah, because the logic is the name. Yeah. So if I'm checking for if color is the selected one, and of course this will also return color here, and it will work for me. And what I'm doing in the pop-up thing is here, this is the one for manufacturer, so I apply the chart visibility manufacturer. So when I select the manufacturer, then the condition becomes true, and boom, and the selected measure is shown. In all the other cases, it will hide because it returns blank. And this is the same trick when I use in the dynamic tooltip. Yeah, it's exactly the same. This is as if I was selecting it. Yeah. So, and then you can do that. A very different matter is how you can do the thing in which here I'm not filtering the other chart. It's just showing the same value, and also it's like zooming out. This would be another half an hour because you need some extra table because the manufacturer, the product table is filtered. So if you want to see the other manufacturers, you need a new table. And then also you need to be aware of all the filters that travel and then get rid of the ones that you don't want and so on. I'll make sure I make a blog post on that because I've seen quite a lot of interest. So, but at least for the sexiest part, which is like how you show the different, you already know how to do that. Okay. I think I've talked a lot, and maybe there are some questions I would like to give a decent answer to. Is there any? I don't know.
There is some questions in the chat.
Oh, are there? Let me have a look. Advanced session, yeah, I've done one for the DNA Summit on the last February, and one on the Power BI Summit in March, and even a couple more in the, I think in Delhi user group and Brisbane. I've done, but that's all I did. Mostly I do the introduction one, but I'll try to pivot into more detail. But then it's just, oh, it was a joke. Oh, come on. But yeah, I mean, you see, I mean, it's all starting. I really recommend you to go on the blog because and it's pretty much step by step, and you can always download the final PBIX and see how it works inside. Okay. Is there anything I'm missing here? Could you talk about the small problem of previous year on the future, please? Ah, the one for the yes. For this problem, yeah, I didn't discuss this in detail, but let me go back to the other one. Or no, even better. When you have a DAX problem, it's normally somebody who already solved it, right? And this somebody normally are the guys at SQL BI, right? So that's what I did when I built my script to create the calculation group. So here, if I connect, let me connect real quick. Oh no, this is already probably, yeah. This is a time intelligence calculation group that, well, this is a bit modified, but pretty much. Here you see that the expression is a bit more complicated already. Yeah, for previous year, this is a more elaborated way to check for the measure, but this is not so critical. This is the bit that takes care of no value in the future. Yeah, this is all comes from the daxpatterns.com. So I basically copied the code from there and I made some adjustments so that the calculation items didn't reference each other. So I basically like bring all the code inside each of the calculation items, so there are no dependencies. And when you create the calculation group, it asks you where's the fact table, where's your date table, where's your date column, and so on. And it creates a measure and a calculated column on your date table. because these are used on the expressions they put on the site, and that's the ones I wanted to use in the group. So really, you're even better off just running the script than trying to build your own calculation group for time intelligence. If your company uses a regular calendar, yeah. If you're into fancy financial calendars, then I'm sorry, I didn't do the script yet for that. Nice. Are you sure it wasn't that bad during the day? Yeah? I don't know. It's just when I started talking now, it became worse. Okay, I don't know if I'm missing anything. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get the cup of tea. Oh man. Okay. I don't know. Am I missing anything? Can you pull the link to the blog post? I think somebody did already. Yeah. So UV. I'll copy if you want all my contact stuff, which I didn't. Yeah, please. If you have questions. Okay. What is this? Wait, I did see something else. Can you put that in the representations? Were the original measures formatted as sales amount? Yes, it is very important. I mean, before you run the script of the dynamic measure, to have proper format strings, because this is the format that will be used later by the calculation group. It will kind of hard copy that one, so it's not dynamic. So in the latest version I have of the script, you can just like run it again for that measure, and it will update in the calculation group. But still, yeah, better if you do it in order first. I mean, having proper format string is already a good practice anyway. Show me more detailed implementation of tooltips. In general, you mean, or the dynamic one? I'm not sure about this one. Thank you, Fernando. Yeah. What's difficult to calculate with an algorithm? Fernando, no, I mean, it was just me like, I think I don't know, I did it yesterday in the evening and I go, maybe I should, compare them somehow. Okay, there's technical difficulties. I don't know, if I'm missing anything, can you please give me a heads up? Or feel free to unmute, I don't care. A bit lonely here.
Please unmute yourselves if there's any question. Or put it in the chat. That's also fine.
Yeah. Just the calculation groups part on and switch. Calculation groups. I'm not sure which one do you mean, Igor. I mean, in tooltips, it's just important to know that if you have a calculation group in your filter context, this will travel to because it's another filter. Yeah, and then also there is I just realized very recently that if you're applying that in a DAX, if you're applying calculation group by DAX, or you're trying to remove a calculation group by DAX, you cannot really do it directly to the calculation group. So you cannot do remove filters from this calculation group column. It doesn't work. So you have to find another way. So you can remove the filters that you know that might be coming from that calculation item, but you cannot really do that from the beginning. Yeah. Can you organize your blog and police this a book? Yeah. But I think I don't have any introductory blog posts at this point. So I don't know. I just blog whatever comes up to my mind, and it's pretty weird stuff most of the time. So I'm not sure if somebody buying a book would be welcoming this sort of thing. I don't know. I'll share it there, and then you can download the PBIX as well. So I don't know. How do you manage sorting of calculation group measures on tables? Sorting of calculation group measures? Items, I guess it is. You can, yeah, I didn't talk about that, but you can drag them, yeah? So I don't know if here I can say, no, I want this to show here, and then they will get this ordinal. Normally this by default is all -1, and it's like, I don't know, whatever, in the order they were created. But once you move, then I'll get a value. And you can use that in a matrix, so to say, if you want to show them in some order. Yeah, for the time intelligence, I do use that. No, you want previous year in certain order. So that's how you can do it. And you have a table with current year sales, previous year sales. You cannot click on the column header to sort it. No, you cannot. No. No, because it's not really a column, is it? So it allows you only to filter by a measure from my. That's an interesting question. I don't know. Let me check. I think the answer is you cannot, but just to be sure. So, for instance, I mean, here it wouldn't make any sense either, no? Because there are different measures. Trying to find some good candidate. Let's see. So you have a measure, a matrix, and I put here the time intelligence. Time intelligence. Yeah, columns. And here I put the sales amount. Sales amount. Where are they? Here it is. Values, and I will put our product, manufacturer. Okay. Okay, we don't see anything now. If I say I want to filter them by, there's no way you can do this. And if you filter by sales amount, I have no idea what happens. Yes, it's probably by current month. Looks so. Because if I do ascending, yeah. But if you want to filter by previous year sales amount, then you might have a problem. Let me check. I think no, keep all filter values. No, there are visuals that they allow like tooltip measures and something, and then you might be able to do something like that. But yeah, this case, I don't think that's the case. If you really need to do that, then alternatively, if you want to sort based on one of these columns, you need to have some sorting calculation group. Well, I would go with, because the calculation groups are good because you have your logic in one place, right? But for some things, you need measures, yeah? And for those cases, I wrote a blog post not long ago in which you can generate the measures based on a calculation group. Yeah, and then you use the measures you need, and then you put them there, and then you sort, and end of the story. And it will even get your format string right, because otherwise it's pretty straightforward. It's just calculate, and then the calculation item, any script can do that. But if you want to get the real format string that you should have, then it's quite more tricky. But in this blog post, I talk you how to do that. And then you would get like a folder with all the measures, then use those measures and filter there. And then you get the logic in one place and then the measures to do whatever you want. So you're still better off than doing the measures one by one.
Any other questions? Not so much a question as a comment. So I guess, yeah, everybody enjoyed the session. There anything else from your side, Bernat? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I really just try them out. Even if you use them for the very basic stuff, they're already great. And once you find something that is not possible, maybe it is possible with calculation groups. So yeah, it will give you superpowers. Maybe, I don't know, they don't work for everything, but why not use them? Even if they're not there in Power BI desktop, you can use them there. So don't be afraid of using tabular editor, which you should be using anyway. So that can be also good for you.
Great session, Bernat. Thank you very much. One more question. Is having so many calculation groups affects in any way to the performance of your file?
Yeah, good question. I mean, having them only, I think it's not that complicated. But what I've heard a couple of times, and I want to investigate at some point, is calculation groups and analyze in Excel, they seem not to like each other too much. So in performance-wise. So it does work, but something that was very fast, then suddenly they put a calculation group, even not in the query. So just by the fact of being there, and then it becomes slow. That's what I've heard. I haven't touched it or seen it myself, but this is what I heard sometime. So this is one thing. Then the other, there's Ken Snyder did a very good blog post on Power Group's performance. And apparently it is more performant if you put all the calculations in one calculation item, a huge one, and then you control the logic with a disconnected table, which is pretty bad for the code management. But apparently, since some of the calculations might be used in more than one calculation item, I don't know, somehow it performed better. That's all I have for performance. But you see, I mean, I don't know how many calculation groups are in this gallery one, but they're a small data set, but I haven't found much problem really. The thing is, when you start playing with the format strings in a chart, so to hide some numbers or do things like this, then it gets nasty sometimes. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know why, but it is expensive. So if you say, I want to show only the highest value, for example, with a dynamic format string, you can hide all the values except that one, for instance. But it takes quite a lot of performance to do it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
With calculation groups, that's not. So you mean using with DAX or what? Or because if you do the measure and you apply a calculation group, then the alternative would be a measure with all the DAX inside. So, I mean, I guess there must be some penalty because there is more things happening, but that comes at the expense of, not having to manage zillions of measures. So, yeah, I mean, it's your call anyway. Yeah, if you want the super speed, maybe you need 1,000 measures. So if you want to enjoy your life and not managing so many measures, maybe calculation group will help you out.
Okay, if there's no other questions left, we're approaching end of the time anyways. Maybe some people need to jump off to the next call. So let me also say thanks a lot. Really interesting session. I'll be sure to use calculation groups a lot more and then try to put them in there. So thanks for that, and thanks for the link to your blogs. And just give me a second. With that, I'll leave you all to good evening, or where, depending on where you are, good afternoon. And see you all not next week, but on the 7th for Eric's session. And subscribe to our channels if you like, and you can rewatch the video, which I'm definitely going to do, because I'm sure I missed something. But anyways, thanks a lot. Thanks for staying with us, and thanks again, Bernat, for doing this session for us.
Okay. You're welcome.
Okay, bye.